Alright. Okay. Now we should be good. Okay, so. Okay, hi everyone. So, right now, today, we have another game we're going to be looking at. Another viewer game. Okay, so, this one was sent in. Okay, and our user, he is playing as the black pieces in this one. Okay, his rating is 1778. And his username is manudude02. Interesting. Okay, and he's playing someone who is rated 1854. Okay, so he would be slightly less rated, but that's still pretty even match. Close, anything within like 100 points is usually pretty fair matchup. At least I think so. And so, okay. Okay, so let's take a look at this game. Okay. And this one, hopefully, I won't take as long as I did last time. Last time I know you may have had to listen to me rattle on for a while. It's a 25-minute video. Usually they're a little bit less than that. Okay. D4, knight f6, and okay, bishop to f4. Okay. G6, okay, so we're seeing a King's Indian setup against a London system. Okay, London system is just kind of a slow opening where White just kind of aims to develop his pieces, take his time, and slowly, strategically build up a pretty good position. And a lot of people like to do the London system against King's Indian setups. The downside, however, is this bishop, although being outside the pawn chain, which means it will be on an active diagonal, sometimes, and this is what I aim to do, I usually will play, and I'll say, well, you let this b2 pawn on defendants, and usually, sometimes I'll play c5, and then maybe queen b6 to try to, in some way, say, well, this pawn isn't defended. And so, this bishop can't get back to guard some of these squares. So that's one downside. And that's what I like to do. And let's see what happens here. Okay, knight to f3, d6, developing knight, castling. Very good. And here is bishop to c4. So this move, when I saw it, I don't particularly think that was the best try because, I mean, definitely, okay, bishop on c4, definitely, it's not, like, bad. I mean, putting a bishop on this diagonal, controlling center, developing piece, not necessarily bad. But the only thing is, I think bishop to e2 would be fine. And here's the reason why. So normally, pieces posted on active positions are very good, like c4. And yes, it's a very active diagonal for that bishop. The only thing is, though, this is a London system, and it's a d4 opening. Typically, d4 openings will a lot of times lead to more closed centers. And closed center, a lot of the times, you'll want to push your pawns to the wing. So maybe this pawn would like to be on c4, where it can't be if there's a bishop. And, also you have to think that the black pawns are kind of not, well, they haven't been pushed yet. So maybe you can use your pawns to get a space advantage. And so that's the only thing that I have against bishop to c4, and why I, myself, would be questioning it. But, of course, bishop on long diagonal. Anyways, bishop to e6. I disagree with bishop to e6, because then that allows, and I think I might get what the reasoning was. I think the reasoning is open the file for the rook. I think that's what he was maybe thinking, what our player was thinking. And also, I guess, maybe exchanges, maybe, because, obviously, like, as mentioned, space advantage a lot of times happens. But this pawn is going to be kind of weak here. So it doesn't really wind up working out quite as well as an open f-file does in other positions. Okay, castle on kingside, knight b to d7. Okay, h3. Okay, so he wants to be able to retreat the bishop. Is that necessary? I think that he can just go right ahead and play knight to g5 immediately and start hitting this weak pawn, though. but he does want to keep the bishop. I think that he doesn't have to worry about the bishop. I think he can just immediately go for this. And I think in the end, this actually could be just a waste of time, maybe, instead of just getting on with it. Because next move is now knight to g5, and then he doesn't worry about losing the bishop. And so the point of h3 is you're able to retreat the bishop. And yeah, you do have the square for your king, maybe. But if you're going to go ahead with this anyways, I don't know if h3 was necessary, because he's just going to let the bishop get taken anyways. So I think maybe he could have managed the time better. Okay, knight takes 4, e takes f4. Okay, and now this pawn really is questionable, because now this knight's attacking it. Let's see here. And rook to f6, okay, to defend the pawn. But I don't think there's really a good way to help that pawn. Okay, and here, let's see here. So what I would think is immediately put this knight here on e4. Because now you're attacking, now the rook could be attacked, and you could double be attacking the pawn at the same time, so you could be attacking two things, you could be double attacking things. And but queen e2 was played. So to hit the pawn again, and I understand this, because you want to develop the pieces, connect the rooks. Oh, okay. But you can just go ahead right away, and then you're attacking the rook, and you're either going to win the exchange or a pawn. Queen to e2 allows black to play knight to f8 and hold the pawn. I mean, definitely this isn't necessarily comfortable for black, but he still hasn't lost any material. It's just positionally not so great, but no lost material. Okay, h6. Now knight g to e4. Okay, f5. Okay. So I'm going to try to go a little bit fast through some of these things to get to a move that I had wanted to see. Let's see here. Okay, queen to c4. Oh yeah, okay, queen c4. So you pin the knight, and then queen to b6. This is a move that's a little bit inaccurate here, because you're losing this, or you're gonna lose a pawn after rook takes on d5. So queen to b6, yes, you are attacking the b pawn, but after rook takes, c takes, this pawn is lost with check. So that kind of makes it so this doesn't work quite so well. So sometimes you have to watch out for those checks when looking at variations. So yes, yeah, you are losing the pawn, and you are counterattacking this pawn, but because the check comes in, that doesn't give black time to take on b2. So if there wasn't this check, then you could probably just be taking. Okay, e6, and here's another move I was trying to think about. So queen to b3. I was thinking about this one. So after queen to b3, black takes. I don't know that black wants to take the queen. This is the thing I was kind of questioning, because black right now is down a pawn. If you're down a pawn, usually you want to keep your pieces on the board and get rid of the pawns. Because in an endgame where there's pawns only, it will be more difficult to hold. Whereas if you can get rid of the pawns and keep the pieces, it becomes easier to hold an endgame. So when you're down a pawn, you want to get rid of the pawns, but keep the pieces usually. Yeah, so I don't know if taking, and so I don't know if that's the best. You probably want to keep the queens on. That way also, if you keep the best attacker on, then you can potentially create problems. Maybe create tactical problems when, because in endgames, the pawn is going to be more noticeable. Alright. Move to e1. Okay, so one thing I did think about here was maybe rook a1. Because then you're attacking the pawn. sometimes when you start to approach endgames, I like to give my opponents choices to see what they do. Maybe he would choose the more passive option, maybe just go back to defending. And also with a6, then you can play knight c5. And then you're attacking b7, and you are also aiming at this weaker pawn. Okay. That's just one idea. Okay. Rook d3. King g2. Okay. D to e2. Okay, let's get to the next move I had seen. Okay, knight takes e5. Okay, knight to c5. Trying. Okay, getting some pieces exchanged. Okay, and after all these exchanges, we're left with a rook endgame. Okay, and the one thing is about rook endgames. Sometimes being able to win them, even if you're up a pawn, can be difficult. So even now, even though black's down a pawn, being able to draw sometimes, in rook endgames isn't quite as difficult. Yes, maybe this pawn isn't so strong, and the queenside majority, which is farther away from the king, so the white king would have a difficult time being able to get over here. There's some factors that are going on that would make it difficult to realize the advantage, but also this is a queenside majority, so I mean maybe. Yeah, sometimes the queenside pawns can be good. If the rooks can come off, then at that point the pawns might be able to win. Okay. a6. Okay, rook e2. Okay. So yeah, okay, guarding the 7th rank. One thing, yeah, he's trying to do is, I guess, just keep black out of the 7th row. Because sometimes you can get a black rook to the white 2nd row, even if you're down a pawn or minor material. Like if you're down, if you have a small material advantage and your rook is very active, sometimes that can compensate for small material disadvantages. Okay. King f6. Okay. Alright. Here is actually... Okay, this is it. So this is where I actually have a very interesting concept. So one idea that is possible to consider here is to play b4. Okay, instead of king to f6. With the idea that if it takes, then all these pawns are doubled, and this rook, can take this one. Okay, so that is one interesting idea. So b4. And also with pushes, well then, you have the b pawn. So, yeah. So that's one interesting idea. Okay, but let's get back to the real game. And yeah, sometimes some interesting pawn things can happen in games. Okay. e5, king e1, king e6, rook d2. And now here's a very interesting thing. So rook to d5. So now, if I was the black pieces, I would be trying to keep the rooks on the board. Because, say rook to f3 to keep the rooks on. Maybe that. But anyway, so rook d5. The thing is, in rook endgames with pawns, they're very commonly drawn, even if there's a pawn difference. So, I would probably want to keep the rooks on just to make it difficult, to make it more difficult. Being down a pawn in a king and pawn endgame is a little bit different. Sometimes it's pretty easy to win if you're up a pawn. Of course, now keep in mind, pawn endgames are very mysterious things. Sometimes you can be up 2 pawns and be losing. But in this case, it looks like this extra pawn will be benefiting to white, and he would be getting pretty easy to play position if the rooks come off due to the extra pawn and in the better pawns. So that's something that would keep me away from playing rook to d5. Okay, king takes. Okay, king e2, a5. Alright, and let's see what happens. Okay, so there is one interesting choice here. So h5 by white. I'm not sure that this was the best choice. I mean, I think that white definitely still has the better endgame here. But I think that black could be put worse by like f3 maybe, because I have this variation I was looking at. So I was looking at like something like f3, g takes, and something like this happening. And now you would have this 3-pawn or pass pawn that can just run to the end, and this king can kind of hold these pawns. Meanwhile, this king is getting, you know, he's running out of space, so he has to jump into the box. You can run, your king can take, and then, you know, something like this maybe, or maybe, I believe there was another option I saw that I liked. So, oh yeah, in this position after king to g6, just play instead of king f4. Actually, yeah, I think c4 was the better option, because now you're creating a second passed pawn, and yeah, it'd be difficult for black to stop this, because he has to worry about this pawn and this pawn, and it takes, and then you get this one, and so yeah, that would be very difficult for him. Alright, okay. Back to the actual game. a4, b takes, okay, king e3, e4, king e3. Okay, and now we have to be careful, because this king's looking like he's gonna go for this b pawn. Okay, so what? Yeah, I think that some of this somewhere in here, this king's gonna get in here, and then that's, yeah, the black king's been allowed to get a little bit too active there. Before king takes, because there is one move I wanted to show. I don't have time for everything to go through, but this is one position I was gonna look at. I wanted to take a little bit deeper look at. So after c4, black shouldn't take. He should just go for the b pawn, because yeah, he can just go and take this b pawn. And then, you know, something like this, with both pawns just run, black gets the queen first, and then this is looks like it's pretty drawish, because with the queens. Yeah. It looks like black can probably hold this, because the king, you can probably get a perpetual somewhere, I think. So that's one thing. I don't think king takes c4 is as good. Okay. Back to the game after king takes c4. f4, g takes, king takes, b3, g4, king takes b2, g5, a3, g6. Yeah, that is unfortunate. So this pains me. This is the move that just keeps white from being able to lose now. Keeps white from being able to win now. Because this move, black's okay now. This is gonna be a draw, because if white takes, he wins. Because a2, h7, a1 queen, pawn queens with check. Then after the queen exchange, this pawn can just march. Yeah, and then white can win. So yeah, g6, that double question mark. This move just ruined the game for white. Okay. That's why pawn endgames are mysterious. Sometimes one move difference can can ruin the game for you. Yeah, so you gotta learn your pawn endgames. If you really want to learn some pawn endgames, there's a great series on, well, somewhere. It's Anna Rudolph. She does a really good series on pawn endgames. Yeah, covering a lot of the information that you need to know if you want to be good at endgames. Okay. Anyways, rest of the game: G7, A1 queen, G8 queen. See, in this variation, it's not queening with check. Okay, queen D1, king E3, and then a bunch of checks, and then the game ends with a draw. So yeah, so this is the game. So probably the biggest thing to note about this game is you need to learn your pawn and king endgames, because in this game, after, where were we? G6, where was G6? Okay, yeah, after G6, white went from winning to drawing. So that one move ruined the game for him. He takes, he wins. Pushes, he draws. So yeah, huge difference there. Okay. Yeah, I mean, both players did play really well, though. And just a missed opportunity by white in the end there. So that's the biggest thing to make sure you know those your pawn endgames. Okay. Okay, well, I think that's going to do it for this video. Okay. Well, until next time, I'll have a new game for you all soon. Okay. Thanks for watching. Bye.